I'm looking at the Mighty Thor. At the bottom, it has the credits given to Fraction, Fairy, Kubert, and Laraz. And it follows after the Fear Itself series, after the main events, like the serpent's been slain and Thor has died, and it picks up after that. It's definitely a very interesting book. The quality is pretty good throughout. Working with the Greek, or not the Greek, but the Asgardian rather mythology, they do use it pretty well, and you definitely make use of that mythological structures. The story itself is just okay. Thor's died, and he's been replaced by an impostor that goes by the name of Thanag or something like that, and or the Mighty Tanaris. Okay, that's what they call it. And the main story focuses on the trolls, which are trying to subvert this new Asgardia, I believe, as they were calling it, because Odin has abdicated his position and he's just going to sulk in Asgard. So three female gods come forward to take his place, and they decide they're going to institute a type of republic rule for Asgardia, which is now on Earth, by the way. It's not in Asgard. So they're attempting to do that. The trolls are still attempting to, I guess, just defeat them and rule, period. And so they have some magic that they've used, some trickery. And appropriately enough, Loki's the only one that senses something's amiss and tries to figure out what's going on. Like, who is this Tanaris? Who he's supposed to be my brother, but I don't remember him. Something's funny, something's weird. And he goes around and does certain things, to try to discover that, meeting certain characters. Like I said, the art is good. Sometimes it does get just a tad basic on it, but they also do a couple of different interesting perspectives. For example, at one point, Fandral, Hogun, and Volstagg come to tell Jane Foster that Thor has died, and they use a very dramatic, over the head, with even a little bit of a panoramic view where it fisheyes everything on the edges, kind of, to give you an idea of how these three characters stand out from the average mortal, so to say. And a lot of good attention to detail for such a small part about the different people in the doctor's waiting office and whatnot. So I do appreciate sometimes those attention to details. We also have a side story of following Thor, who has deceased, and he's forgetting who he is and just forgetting everything about himself as he's getting ready to be eaten by this god-eating creature that's outside of space and time, where it just eats gods. And he's in this longboat with two other people, and they're slowly going toward this creature, which will eventually eat them. And eventually, of course, Thor does remember enough to get his hammer to him and get out of that and come back and help save the day for Asgardia when the trolls attack. Something I think that could have helped a little bit was, it really never seemed like the Asgardians were in trouble from the trolls. They didn't present them as an overwhelming threat or force. Really, they only had trickery, and if they were wanting Tanaris to assassinate at least one of the mothers, the three female gods or goddesses, to I guess to give them an edge, throw everything into chaos. But they really would have had to have killed all three pretty much to do that. So I mean, that would be the only weak point in the story, I say, is you never really felt like, the trolls are going to cause some trouble, and maybe they even kill a few people, even important people, but you never really felt like there was a whole bunch of trouble there, because you also didn't get the idea from the Asgardians, just all the different groups of them. Beyond the ice giants, of course, they're always the assholes apparently now, which makes me wonder if they were that way in the original mythology, and that just came along with them, or something. Everybody decided ice is cold, so these are going to be the jerks. But everyone kind of just seems to go along, even though they talk about there being unsettling unease with this change from a monarchy, basically one rule, dictatorial rule of Odin, to this more representative rule, which they don't even really explain exactly how that's going to work. Like there's a person that stands for each of the different races, each of the different 9 realms, but they never said, was that person elected? Were they just the strongest one? that were the only ones that wanted to come forward. Like, there's no. It seems to me that it's not very representative government or representative if these are just the strongest thugs that come forward, and then the thugs are going to fight it out amongst them to decide how everything's going to run. Right? That's still not very. It doesn't seem to be accomplishing what their goals were, which was to avoid any type of dictatorial rule. And being dictated to by a council of thugs doesn't seem much of an improvement over one thug, so to speak. I did think it was nice that they did show Odin was very contrite about this and how things went and his failure. That was very interesting. We do have a small appearance by the Silver Surfer, which is very bizarre in some ways because birds are eating him when we were kind of see him in his guts, like, but he's letting them do it to experience life and death. Again, that doesn't seem. This just doesn't seem very interesting. And by the way, Silver Surfer is not worthy enough to pick up the hammer of Thor. Very interesting there. So, that's kind of how the book goes. I did appreciate that Loki was not just making trouble or kind of being a stereotype trickster. He was a little bit more method to what was going on there. And he's still a jerk. He's not, he'll still play nasty. Like, he takes a cane, which is actually Thor's hammer, but I don't think he remembers it at the time. But he takes a cane from a disabled person, and I forget the exact character's name, but I believe it was the one who used to be Thor when he'd have to hit the cane and then he would turn into Thor and all that. But I do think it's an interesting read. Again, let's take a look at the price on the back here. $24.99. I have to say $25 is very expensive for this. I think if you could find it for $10 to $15, and if you like the Asgardian mythology, I think it's probably worth it at that price. Of course, if you can check it out from the library or something along those lines, feel free to do that as well. I don't think I would pay more than $10 or $15 though for it. That close to $25 seems outrageous. And if you have any questions about the book in particular, or if you have anything to add, I haven't read any of the series after. So it'd be interesting to see, does it get any worse? Does it get any better? You can let me know down below.